Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist and Hank Goldberg here in Las Vegas. Happy Wednesday morning. Good morning, Hank.
Hey, Jim. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Okay.
Well, we got a big week coming up. Starting, we got the baseball stuff ending up. We're going to get the playoffs soon. We've got a big card of college and pro football coming up this weekend, starting tomorrow night. The Monday night game was all Chicago Bears and a lot of mistakes from Washington.
Yeah. Speaking of Washington, they've come on strong in baseball to make the postseason, and they could be a little tough to contend with right now. They're playing great ball.
Yeah, and they have some great shutdown pitchers too on that staff. It's going to be very interesting playoffs. I think it's wide open. We know the favorites are, but it's going to be wide open. It's going to be very interesting to watch it and bet on it and take advantage of the opportunities. Football this weekend, got some college games, a lot of college games. Anything that stands out to you that's interesting?
I don't think so. The Friday night games aren't too bad. Actually, California, Arizona State could be a good game. California's good. They can score. They've got pretty good defense. And they're home against Arizona State. There's a lot of interest in Cal right now in Northern California. They went on the road and won a big game in Mississippi, and they're a very well-coached team. That's an attractive game. Otherwise, there's not a lot out there that's really interesting. Stanford, Oregon State, maybe, on the West Coast. But, otherwise, Notre Dame is playing Virginia. There is not one big matchup game this weekend in college football, except for Ohio State, Nebraska.
Well, that's true. A lot of people are talking about what happens after the Washington State collapse and the UCLA surge. Were both aberrations, or does it continue that trend?
I don't know, but neither team is playing this week. I don't think so.
It should be interesting going forward, though. You don't give up a 32-point favorite lead.
Yeah, but both teams are off this week, so there's really not a discussion until they play again.
True.
Oh, UCLA plays Arizona.
Yeah, they do. That's absolutely true. So, it's going to be good. We got the Thursday night game, Philadelphia at Green Bay. Green Bay's a 4-point favorite, total 46. Everybody thought Philadelphia was going to do a lot this year, but they are really banged up. They have a lot of injuries.
I think they're getting one of the wide receivers back, but they've got injuries on the defensive side of the ball, too. Their defensive line, and the quarterback is not playing well. And Green Bay right now has an outstanding defense, which has been carrying them, actually. So far, the offense has not clicked all that great, and they're waiting for a breakthrough week. This could be it. But, Thursday night game, it's tough on visiting teams on a short week like that, having to travel. So far, they haven't done very well, and it's been tough on offenses. But, Green Bay right now is playing very well on defense. And, the last couple of drafts they've had have been very defensive-oriented. And, we'll see when the offense doesn't have great receivers or a lot of depth at the receiver position. And it's held them back a little bit. So we'll see. There are a lot of 7-point favorites this week. There aren't a lot of live dogs. that I can see. New Orleans against Dallas will be a good game. That game is being played in New Orleans. Then New Orleans getting points at home. You have to take a look at that. And it's Bridgewater, who is now 18-12. One thing about Dallas, I think they have one weakness, and that is they only have 2 sacks all year. They don't put pressure on the quarterback. They could have some problems in that game. And, Oakland's in big trouble. They got lots of injuries. They're going into Indianapolis. Oakland's lost 11 of their last 12 games on the road. And they're not a very good football team right now. Carolina's on the road for the second week in a row. We'll see how good their quarterback is, who had a good game last week. And Cleveland's in trouble again, having to go to Baltimore. And Kansas City. There's some teams who have 3 wins. New England never has a problem with Buffalo. Buffalo could find its winning streak come to an end against a New England team that hasn't given up a defensive score yet. And teams are 0 for the season against New England's defense. But, New England hasn't played a very tough schedule so far either. So that has to come into consideration for their defense. But their defense is good. But they played a very soft schedule. And Dallas has played a very soft schedule so far. So we'll see, about those 2 teams right now. New England has been, double digits or over everybody. Now they're only given 7 points, I guess, to Buffalo. And we'll find out how good Buffalo is. Offensively, their defense is good. But they shouldn't be a challenge for New England's defense.
No, they should be able to shut down the offense of Buffalo. Buffalo started the game two games in the Meadowlands, one's against the Jets and the Giants, and then they beat up on Cincinnati. To go back to college, it's hard to keep up with all these teams. Washington State's playing at Utah this week, and UCLA is also playing Arizona. So it's they are in action off of what we said earlier. So I didn't want to leave that open.
I didn't see that. I haven't even seen the Washington State Utah number.
Yeah, they're up there. Let me see. I'll get you a number. Well, the UCLA line is Washington.
I got that one.
Okay, that's Arizona 7 over UCLA. Up here at
I see Utah. Utah's favored by 5.5.
Yep. There's some injuries in that game, so they're watching that one. But as far as Buffalo, yeah, New England is a beast. Let's just face it. They have some injuries. They got. You're seeing more of a controlled game from and I think going forward you're going to see more of a controlled game. A, it keeps Brady from getting hit. B, they are not going to be able to go deep because of the offensive line problems. They lost the center. They lost the left tackle. They're going to have.
They replaced the center with a pretty good guy, and Edelman is out, I think, which could be a problem for him. But
absolutely.
But they've got a lot of depth at that position, even with the loss of the nutcase they signed. But he'll miss Edelman if Edelman can't go this week. But they can run the football, and but Buffalo's defense is formidable. They're pretty good.
Yep, 2 3-0 teams going up against each other. It's very interesting. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good one.
Well, there are 3-0 teams that are going to come to realization that they're not really a 3-0 team. Detroit is a good example of that. They got to play Kansas City this week. Their chances of remaining undefeated are probably slim. There are a couple other 3-0 teams that. And there are a couple 0-3 teams that I think Pittsburgh is one of them that'll probably snap out of it against Cincinnati. Dallas has been playing nobodies, now they got to go up against New Orleans. That's going to be a challenge for them.
There's a big adjustment in that game. If Breeze was the quarterback, Dallas would not be the favorite in that game, but they are. Dallas opened a 3.5-point favorite, Hank, and now it's down to 2.5. That's a tough place to go to be favored, but that's because Breeze isn't there. But New Orleans played a pretty solid game last week against Seattle.
Yep. Seattle has got some difficulties. I think their defense is not what it was. Now they go into Arizona where they're favored, but and the Raiders are in real trouble. The Raiders have a slew of injuries. They don't have any healthy linebackers. They've lost 11 to 12 games on the road. Now they got to go into Indianapolis. Indianapolis is playing very well. Their quarterback had a heck of a game last week where he threw 16 straight completions in his game. And I think another team that's going to be tested this week is Jacksonville going into Denver. And we'll see how good this young quarterback is, playing against that defense.
Denver is in real trouble. They're 0-3. They have not looked particularly good. Flacco, of course, is a statue. We neither one of us are very high on Flacco. That's going to be Minshew going up there to Denver is a challenge. I mean, he's a young guy, but I'll tell you what, he doesn't lack confidence. He's a very brash young man that has tons of confidence.
He had a very average game last week, and they won because of their defense. We'll see what he does this week going in there. They had some scoring opportunities that they left on the field, and he played okay. But if you look at his numbers, they've regressed every week. He went from his big game, his first week, to I think he went down in numbers the second week, and he went down even further the third week. That tells me something about teams getting on to him. And now he's going against one of the better defenses in the league. I predict he lays a huge egg in Denver. You watch.
It very, very well be. There has been money on Denver. It opened 3 with average juice, and now it's 3 minus all the way up to 25. So it's almost going to 3.5. If you see 3.5, you might actually end up seeing 4. Yeah, Denver's getting some money, even though.
Well, and you look up Minshew's record and his numbers and his quarterback rating from week to week. And they've regressed week to week. Their defense is what's really carried them.
Yeah, and probably that will be the key for their game again, to try to shut down the Denver offense, which isn't all that good anyway. But that should be what they call in the old days a slobber knocker. That should be that means a tough football game. The Rams have not looked particularly great this year. I mean, when Breeze got knocked out, they did beat up on them, but they're a little bit short. Goff, I don't know what's going on there, but they're a 10-point favorite over Tampa. You think that number's too big?
No, I think the number's right. Tampa is not a good football team. That quarterback, they may shut him out. He's not playing very well right now. They don't have any offense at all. And the Rams are a different team at home. Quarterback is much better at home than he is on the road. And he's got those 3 guys that he can throw the ball to, and the two-headed backfield. I thought that Gurley came around a little bit in the second half last week, and this is a layup for the Rams.
Were you super impressed with the Kyle Allen filling in for Cam and Jones filling
I
in.
thought he played well, but he was playing at Arizona. This week he's his second game in a row on the road, and now he has to go into Houston. We'll see. You know, I want to wait and see what he does this week against the Houston defense.
Now, Jones filled in for Eli. I mean, he's taken over the starting job. And now he goes up against Washington, who did not look very good on Monday night.
No, they're terrible. They're probably the third worst team in the league right now. Coach is probably going to get fired. It's a disorganized organization. They can't get anything for their big tackle who's wants to get out of there and is not playing. Their offensive line is bad. Their defense is horrible. I mean, they made Trubisky look good last week. Their secondary is really bad. They don't have a pass rush. And right now they're trying to get Adrian Peterson going as a running back because their other running back is hurt, and Peterson doesn't have what he used to have. So I think, and Gruden says he's sticking with his quarterback. He won't put the Ohio State kid in yet. What's he waiting for? He's probably not going to be his choice after another week.
Yeah, I've heard a couple comments. The offensive line for Washington is so bad. They really don't want to see Haskins get beat up and possibly hurt because they have no protection for the quarterback. I mean, their offensive line is terrible.
There are a lot of dysfunctional organizations right now due to the ownership that's just dysfunctional. Starting with Miami, where Ross is a terrible owner, great real estate guy, bad owner. The ownership in Washington has always been questionable. He's had a lot of different general. He can't decide on which general manager he wants to listen to, and he's been through a lot of coaches. You got Cleveland, which this quarterback has been there for 2 years. He's had 4 different head coaches. Or offensive coaches, and so his head's probably swimming right now with different ideas, and it's there are a lot of teams right now that are a mess. When you got guys arguing in Oakland, they're not in the best of shape. Washington, I mentioned, is really a bad situation. And Arizona, we'll see where they're going. I like the quarterback a little bit. He can play.
There's a lot. I mean, they've got the young coach and the young quarterback there, so they haven't put it together yet. That's a tough game. Seattle is not the same Seattle we knew years ago. They're Legion of Boom. The defense is different. It's not up to par. They still have one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Russell Wilson, and a head coach that does a pretty good job in Pete Carroll. Arizona is definitely in that group that it's the bottom of the league, and we do have a top and a bottom of the league this year. The parity is not what we've seen in the past, but that's you go through transition stages, and we got transitions in quarterbacks and et cetera, et cetera. So you go around the league. You've talked about Tennessee all year. I know you like the head coach. They have not looked particularly good. I mean, I know they beat up on Cleveland, but Cleveland's a little dysfunctional. So what do you think of them now after going into the 4th week of the season?
Well, Mariota is not playing very well, and that's the issue there. How long do you stay with him? He played a horrible game last week, and their defense is good. Their defense actually played well last week. But I question the moves that their offense is making, and why they stay with Mariota so long. He really had a horrible game, and he's not as mobile as he was before. I guess they're telling him he's got to stay in the pocket, and he has no quarterback presence at all. He holds the ball forever, and that's why he gets so many sacks. They blame the offensive line, but you can't hold the ball as long as he does and not take all those sacks, and that's been the difficulty. They got a good running game, and but teams are stacking the box against their running game because they don't fear the quarterback.
Yeah, it might be time to do a switch to the backup quarterback who has a lot of experience. Atlanta is playing at home. They're playing Tennessee, of course. They have not done very well on the road, and it's been a while since they have. I mean, they have a little bit.
They're 1-10 their last 11 games on the road.
That's pretty damn bad.
That's worse than not very well. That stinks.
I was trying to be kind, Hank. But they come home, and they are pretty good at home. And
they're okay at home, but their secondary is very poor. They can't stop the passing game. That's the difficulty. And, actually Ryan played well last week. After he threw that interception early in the game, he's had 6 picks in 3 games, but only 1 last week. But they, they're just an undependable team. And I'll tell you, that division that was supposed to be competitive is not competitive. Carolina is not going anywhere, I don't think. Atlanta doesn't look like they're all that good because of their poor defense, and Tampa Bay is bad. And I think that New Orleans doesn't have to do a lot until Breeze comes back, because after this week, I think they have a lot of winnable games for sure, and they just are too much. So it's not as competitive a division as some people thought before the season started.
Well, I was one of them. I thought that. I thought the Saints would win the division, but I thought it would be very tough. And Carolina might get a boost from this quarterback, and it looks like Cam's going to be out. And Cam may never come back if this kid keeps playing like this. New Orleans does have Bridgewater as a backup.
I'm not going to judge this guy and overreact to a performance he had against Arizona on the road. Now he has to go against a real defense. And we'll see. I would hold my judgment off till after this week.
Well, I think we have to do that. Houston came back last week and played a real good game with the Chargers, won that game. They played real good on the road against the Saints, even though they lost it. But the week in between, they played at home against Jacksonville with Minshew at quarterback, and they were to die to win that game, and could have ended up in a tie in overtime had Jacksonville not gone for a 2-point conversion. So their best games so far have been on the road. The question now is, will they come back and play a good home game? And the line opened 5 in this game. I find it interesting that there's been immediate take on Carolina. That's
people overreacting to that quarterback. I'll tell you something about Minshew in that game, too. He put up 12 points.
Oh, yeah, he didn't.
It was the Jacksonville defense that kept him in that game.
Well, that is their strength. Jacksonville does have a good defense. That is their strength. And I would expect the same thing in the Jacksonville-Denver game. I think both teams have decent defenses, and it's going to be like I called it, a slobber knocker. So it's going to be interesting there. Hank, I switch gears here a little bit. I know we only have a couple more days of baseball, and then the playoffs start. So that's going to be very interesting, and we'll get into that a little bit more as we get maybe to Monday, and we'll start talking about that. Anything else before we close out for today?
No. I think that and there's really not much else to talk about until the playoffs start. I think, I think that Houston is going to be the team to beat. I'm not wild about the Dodgers right now. And the Yankees have their pitching rotation set. And I think what they're hoping that is they get enough out of their starters so that their bullpen can take over in games and they can score a lot of runs. They're getting two guys healthy at the right time. We're going to be back in the lineup, two of their key guys. So their offensive team is loaded.
Yeah, offensively, they are dynamite. No question. Hank, have a great day. We'll talk again on Friday, and good luck.
Okay, you too, Jim.
Thank you. And don't forget to and go and sign up for our free plays each and every day. All you have to do is go to the website, jimfeist.com. Hank's plays and mine are there. And you can sign up for a free play each and every day. And it's right there on the front page at jimfeist.com. And again, thank you for listening. We enjoy having you. I hope you enjoy the podcast.